ओम ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्ता कान्ता नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत शिवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानन्दं माधवं श्रीचैतन्य ईश्वरम्। I found one important and inspirational verse in Bhagavatam, which is actually from Sukadeva Goswami's prayers to the Supreme Lord before he speaks. And Srila Prabhupada's purport is very important for sadhakas like us, where he says the devotees of the Lord, while delivering speeches and describing the transcendental attributes of the Lord, do not think that they can do anything independently. They think that they can speak only what they are induced to speak by the Supreme Lord, the master of the senses. The senses of the individual being are not his own. The devotee knows that such senses belong to the Supreme Lord and that they can be properly used when they are employed for the service of the Lord. The senses are instruments and elements are ingredients all endowed by the Lord. Therefore, whatever an individual can do, speak, see, etc., is under the direction of the Lord only. The Bhagavad Gita 15.15 confirms this. Sarvasya chaham hiri sannivastu mattasmritir jnanam apohanam cha. No one is free to act freely and independently, and as such one should always seek the permission of the Lord. As well as all the assembled devotees, I seek all your blessings, especially Vamsivadam Prabhu, to act or eat or speak, and by the blessing of the Lord, everything done by a devotee is beyond the principles of the four defects typical of the conditioned soul. So I thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to speak about this pastimes of Muchukunda. And there are quite a few important learnings from this, and I found that pretty inspirational. So, 2.41, first canto, 1-41. Prabhuji, can you switch on the TV? Is it coming? So, today we'll be discussing on the 10th canto, which is titled Samam Bonam, chapter 51, the deliverance of Muchukunda. क्या हो गया? आ गया? and only that screen. Thank you. So, day before yesterday, we saw how nicely Divinita Prabhu gave a summary of this pastime. Of course, we'll see that in brief once again today, but we'll read the verses. Today we got the verses from 10th canto, 51st chapter, 7th sloka, right up to 12th sloka. So I'll read the translations from 7 to 11, and the 12th one we can recite. Appearing virtually within reach of Kalyavana's hands at every moment, Lord Hari led the king of the Yavanas far away to a mountain cave. That was 7th verse. 8th verse. While chasing the Lord, the Yavana cast insults at him, saying, "You took birth in the Yadu dynasty. It's not proper for you to run away." But still, Kalyavana could not reach Lord Krishna because his sinful reactions had been cleansed away. Sorry? Had not been cleansed away. Yeah, sorry. That "not" is very important there. That's right. Which is the most thing I mixed out. Sorry. 9th verse. Although insulted in this way, the Supreme Lord entered the mountain cave. Kalyavana also entered, and there he saw another man lying asleep. Purport. The Lord exhibits here his opulence of renunciation, determined to execute his plan and give his blessings to Muchukunda. The Lord ignored Kalyavana's insults and calmly proceeded with his program. 10th verse. So after leading me such a long distance, now he is lying here like some saint. Thus thinking the sleeping man to be Lord Krishna, the deluded fool kicked him with all his strength. The 11th verse. The man awoke after a long sleep and slowly opened his eyes. Looking all about, he saw Kalyavana standing beside him. 12th verse. Satavattasya rustasya drishtipatena bharata deha jenagnina dugdo bhasma sad abhavat shanat satavattasya rustasya दृष्टिपातेन भारत देहाजेनाग्न्या दुग्धो भस्मासाद् अभवत् सनात् स तावत् तस्य रुस्तस्य दृष्टिपातेन भारत देहाजेनाग्न्या दुग्धो भस्मासाद् अभवत् सनात्. Can you please chant? Satavattasya rustasya bharata drishtipatena Anybody else? Word for word meanings. Sa, he, Kalyavana, Tavat, that much, Tasya, of him, the awakened man, Rustasya, who was angered, Drishti, of the glance, Patena, by the casting, Bharata, O descendant of Bharata, Parikshit Maharaj, Dehajena, generated in his own body, Agnina, by the fire, Dagda, burned, Bhasmasat, to ashes, Abhavat, he was, Shanat, in a moment. Translation. The awakened man was angry and cast his glance at Kalyavana, whose body burst into flames. In a single moment, O King Parikshit, Kalyavana was burnt to ashes. Purport. The man who incinerated Kalyavana with his glance was named Muchukunda. As he will explain to Lord Krishna, he had fought for a long time on behalf of the demigods, and finally taking as his benediction the right to sleep undisturbed. The Harivamsa explains that he secured the further benediction of being able to destroy anyone who disturbed his sleep. Acharya Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur quotes from Sri Harivamsa as follows: Prasuptam bodhayed yemam tam dahemam aham suraha chakshura krodha deeptena evam aha puna puna. Again and again Muchukunda said, O demigods, with eyes blazing with anger, may I incinerate anyone who awakens me from sleep. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that Muchukunda made this rather morbid request to scare Lord Indra, who Muchukunda thought might otherwise wake him repeatedly to request his help in fighting Indra's cosmic enemies. Indra's consent to Muchukunda's request is described in Sri Vishnu Purana as follows: Proktascha Deva Samsuptam Yastvam Utthapayisyati Deha Jenagna Sadya Satu Bhasmi Karishyati. The demigods declared, whoever awakens you from sleep will suddenly be burnt to ashes by a fire generated from his own body. So, we have two personalities here. One is Kalyavana and the other is Muchukunda. So, whose group do we want to be? We'll first see the storyline in brief. That is, according to Vishnu Purana and Harivamsa, Kalyavana was a Yavana king. That is, he had some Greek roots, is what I understand. And Jarasandha, that is Kamsa's father-in-law, ruler of Magda, attacks Mathura 17 times but was defeated each time. Jarasandha enters into an alliance with Kalyavana. Then Kalyavana got a boon from Lord Shiva that on the battlefield he will not be defeated. Now, in order to protect the residents of Mathura, Lord Krishna built a new, strong and glorious city, Dwaraka. He transported the residents of Mathura here. And Kalyavana attacked Mathura with an army of 3 million Yavanas. They greatly outnumbered the residents of Mathura. In order to reduce the impact of a two-sided attack from both Jarasandha and Kalyavana, Krishna strategically lured Kalyavana away from the battlefield into a cave which was far away. Here in the cave, Muchukunda, one of the kings during Treta Yuga who had helped Indra battle the demons, was sleeping as he was very tired after a very long battle with the demons while protecting the demigods. The ability to sleep was obtained by way of a boon from Indra. The boon was also added a feature that whoever disturbed Muchukunda from his sleep would be burnt to ashes automatically. So now, the reason for this boon was that he was being very tired, wanted to sleep it out, and he also feared that Indra may request him for his help once again after some time, and he did not want to do that. Fast forward to Dwapar Yoga, Muchukunda was still sleeping when he was woken up by Kalevana. Kalevana saw a figure sleeping on the ground and, thinking the figure to be Krishna, kicked him, thus disturbing Muchukunda, who then woke up. The cave was dark and Krishna put his chadar on Muchukunda, that yellow chadar which Krishna was wearing. He put it on Muchukunda, thus misleading Kalevana to think that it was indeed Krishna who was sleeping there. Muchukunda looked at who woke him up from the deep slumber and glared angrily at Kalevana. The glare from Muchukunda was enough to get Kalevana engulfed in flames as per the boon granted. Muchukunda then saw Krishna there. He was very happy to see Krishna. Krishna advises him to perform tapasya, to cleanse the accumulated sins and to attain liberation. And after meeting with the Lord, Muchukunda sets out of the cave. Muchukunda then goes to north to Gandhamadana mountain and from there to Badrikashrama for doing penance and finally achieves liberation. Actually, about 2 months back, we did an intense study on 5th canto, and there we came across this Gandhamadana mountain, which is in Jambudvipa. And Jambudvipa, it is segregated into 9 portions, and Gandhamadana mountain separates Ketumala Varsha and Ilavarta Varsha. Ilavarta Varsha is where Mount Sumeru is. So it delineates these 2 Varshas, Ketumala and Ilavarta Varsha. So Muchukunda came to Gandhamadana mountain and then he went to Badrikashrama. So this is just the background part of it. Now comes the philosophy. Now, as we saw that there are 2 personalities here. Of course, Krishna is always there. One is Muchukunda and the other is Kalevana. Now, the question may arise, whose group do we want to be in? Obviously, everybody will take Muchukunda, right? Now, Muchukunda, he recognized Krishna. Kalevana did not recognize Krishna. Both of them saw Krishna. That is the most critical factor here. Like Duryodhan, Shishupal, etc., they also saw Krishna, but they did not recognize Krishna. Now, we are in a very fortunate situation here in Kanpur that yes, you all at least are staying in the temple. You can have darshan of the deities, at least here. When I go back to Bangalore, it's not every day that I will be able to go to the temple. You can see the deities. Now, it's not sufficient that we see the deities, but we need to recognize. These are 3 important factors which will delineate a Muchukunda from a Kalevana. And we want to be in the group of Muchukunda. So, what is the importance of recognizing Krishna? Actually, this pastime happened some time back in US, that Hanumat Preksha Swami Maharaj, he was conducting a series of Bhagavatam classes in a temple, and it was maybe the 6th or the 7th day, and he wanted to assess what has been absorbed. So he said, first canto, how many chapters? They did not have the answers. They were fumbling. Second canto, how many chapters? They were again fumbling. Maharaj knew, okay, now where he is heading. Then he said, okay, what is the theme of the first canto? Then somebody hesitatingly put up his hand. Parikshit Maharaj meets Sukadeva Goswami. It is obvious. First canto is all about that. Then Maharaj said something. Of course, he said it in a humorous manner, but it had a serious content to it. He said, today in our midst, say Krishna is here. We need to recognize Krishna. Now, that time, don't think Shankha Baje, Ghanta Baje, Bajur Badur, Madur Baje, all that will not happen. Heavens will not part. Nobody will shower flowers, but yes, Krishna will be there, and we need to recognize Krishna in our midst. Then he added, we should be able to, at this rate, we would not know what is the difference between the lotus feet of a Krishna and a feet of a buffalo. Everybody started laughing. But then there was a serious message within that we need to recognize Krishna. When Kalyavana saw Krishna in the battlefield, okay, he ran after Krishna, at least to that extent he is okay. But then with what mood? He did not go like Dhruva Maharaj. So that is what would delineate us as devotees from, say, somebody like Kalyavana or Hiranyakashipu, etc. Similarly, when Mahaprabhu went to Srirangam, we all know that pastime, where that illiterate Brahmana was reading Bhagavad Gita and he was shedding tears. Mahaprabhu could understand that, yes, you have understood who is Krishna. That is what pleases this thing. And then is when you will get the reciprocation. So, it is important to recognize Krishna. Now, we will see about the importance of recognizing Krishna. We'll talk a little bit about from the Mahaprakasha Leela, which Mahaprabhu exhibited. So, Mahaprabhu wanted a Abhishek performed for himself. And he told everybody, yes, I need an Abhishek. So everybody immediately, it was arranged in a very short while. They brought Ganges water and they did a very nice Abhishek. And then he started to reveal the intimate pastimes, not with him and the thing, that is, with whomsoever he enacted those pastimes, those devotees, they did not know that he was there. But then he recounted that to the devotees. Like, for instance, Srivas Pandit. Srivas Thakur was in the Bhagavatam class given by Devananda Pandit. And Srivas Thakur, he was an exalted devotee. So every word of Bhagavatam which he was hearing, he was going into fits of ecstasy, which other common devotees mistook that, yes, he is playing the fool, and they literally took him and made him to go outside. And Devananda Pandit, who was sitting on the Vyasasana, also did not take any action. Mahaprabhu recounts this and then tells Srivas Thakur, you felt bad not because they threw you out of the assembly, but because every word of Bhagavatam was sending you into fits of ecstasy. Is that not right? Srivas Thakur said, yes. I mean, that was it. And how did Mahaprabhu know this? Because he came down from Vaikuntha and he invoked these kind of ecstatic feelings within Srivas Thakur. Similarly, Gangadas Pandit, he was running away with his family against the tyrannical ruler. Then he reaches the banks of Ganges, he finds nobody, then he finds a boatman there. And he tells, Baba, please take me to the other side of the shore, because me and my family need protection. And Mahaprabhu says, I was that boatman who rowed you to that other side and put you into safety. And then I went back to Vaikuntha. That is, Mahaprabhu came down from Vaikuntha only to save that Gangadas Pandit. So, do you recognize Gangadas? He said, yes. He immediately recollected. Then Kolavecha Sridhar. I mean, how affectionate he was. Although Mahaprabhu bargained and did not want to pay, etc., but then Kolavecha Sridhar understood. Similarly, Advaita Acharya. He asked Advaita Acharya, in fact, twice. He said, do you have any doubts? Advaita Acharya said, yes, I have no doubts. Then he had a pastime with Advaita Acharya also, where Advaita Acharya, he used to give classes on Bhagavad Gita to the residents of Navadvip. And at one point in time, he was stuck in a verse in Bhagavad Gita he could not understand. And because he could not understand, that night he fasted. And Mahaprabhu in Vaikuntha was saying that, yes, here is my devotee who is fasting because he could not understand a verse from Bhagavad Gita. He came down from Bhagavad Gita, he went inside Advaita Acharya, he then gave him that knowledge, what was in that particular sloka, and inspired him. And then he said, please don't fast, because when you are fasting, I am also got to fast, so you please take your prasadam. So like that he exhibited to Advaita Acharya. Then Murari Gupta. Murari Gupta, as we all know, was Hanuman himself. Now, when Mahaprabhu was interacting with Murari Gupta in this Leela, he turned himself into Lord Ram, and Murari Gupta could see Lakshman, Hanuman, Sita, etc. And when he saw Hanuman himself, he was Hanuman, he fainted. So, then, when this kind of a reciprocation was going on, devotee said, Mukunda Datta is standing outside. He is hiding behind that curtain. He doesn't want to come in. Why don't you call? I mean, they requested Mahaprabhu. Then Mahaprabhu said, he was pretty upset with Mukunda Datta. He said, I don't want to meet him. Actually, Mukunda Datta was a very good Kirtaniya. He could sing songs for the pleasure of Mahaprabhu, and Mahaprabhu appreciated that. So this kind of a change in the thing, Mahaprabhu, the devotees were a little perplexed. Why this is happening? Again he said, no, I don't want to see Mukunda Datta, because he has legs in two boats. He goes to that Vasishtha Advaita preachers, those Mayavadi set, and when he comes to meet me, he comes with a straw in his teeth. That is, he is going on both places. Literally, Mahaprabhu said, he comes to meet me with a straw in his teeth, and he also has an iron rod to beat me with that. Because he is going to the classes of Mayavadi people. And we all know how Mahaprabhu reciprocated with Advaita Acharya when he was speaking of Jnana being higher than Bhakti. Mahaprabhu was very upset, because for him, Vyavasayatmika eka hi buddhi, that is only bhakti is the topmost, and bhakti only to Lord Hari. So like this thing was going on. Then Mukunda Datta sent word through somebody, can you please ask when will I get darshan of Mahaprabhu? And Mahaprabhu said, after 1 million lifetimes. The moment he said 1 million lifetimes, there were two reactions within Mukunda Datta. One was he was very crestfallen, that he realized what is the mistake he had been doing by associating with those Mayavadis. I mean, he started shedding tears. Then he started jumping in joy, because that realization also dawned that after 1 million years or births, Mahaprabhu is going to give me darshan. I mean, he was ecstatic. So he had both these things. Mahaprabhu, as the Paramatma, could understand the transformation which has taken place. So Mahaprabhu then called him, said, he can come in. And the devotees asked, you just now said 1 million births, now you are calling him. Is 1 million births wiped off? Being Mahaprabhu, he could do that. Like we saw in the class which Premaranam Prabhu gave the other day, the tree which was withering. Mahaprabhu just embraced it and it came back to life. Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he could do anything. So within a stroke, he erased 1 million lifetimes of Mukunda Datta. He called him in. Then he started engaging in talks. And from here starts the main thing, is that the importance of recognizing Krishna was brought out by Mukunda Datta. He said, my Lord, I did not want to come in because I had no bhakti in my heart. And what is the use? Duryodhana also saw you, Shishupal also saw you, Kamsa also saw you. They saw you physically, but then no. Then Mahaprabhu replied, yes, Kubja also saw me. But then she reciprocated. Sudama, not Poha. It is the florist who gave flowers to, he was giving me flowers. It made me very happy. But the Dhobi of Kamsa, he behaved badly, and we all know what happened. So, even when we see the Supreme Lord here, we have to recognize who is Krishna. That is what brought out by Mukunda Datta in that pastime, in Mahaprakash Leela. Then again, of course, the conversation went that yes, Mukunda Datta says that when you went to marry Rukmini, all the demons like Shishupal, etc. were there. They saw you, but then they could not recognize you. Hiranyaksha saw you, Hiranyakashipu saw you, but no, nobody recognized you. But then whosoever recognized, they could get your benediction. And then Rupa Goswami, he adds in one of the Padyavalis that, see, Sudama, the Brahmin, he did not have any wealth. Kubja did not have any beauty. Vidura did not come from a high parentage. Gajendra did not have any intelligence. Dhruva did not have maturity. But yet, all of them attained Supreme Lord. So these are not the qualifications to attain Supreme Lord. What you need to have is bhakti. So the only qualification to attain the Supreme Lord is to have bhakti and nothing else for the Lord. And even when I was discussing that glories of Srimad Bhagavatam, we saw that role reversals, etc. So when there is an equation with the Supreme Lord, aspects like dharma, etc. go out of the window. Like normally children are supposed to obey elders. But Prahlad Maharaj was teaching Hiranyakashipu. When it comes to Krishna, all the kind of normal equations go out of the window. The wives of the Brahmanas, they turned out to be more intelligent than the Brahmanas themselves who were doing yajna for satisfying Krishna, but they did not recognize Krishna. So it is very important that when we go to take darshan, we keep this factor in our mind. That is why Krishna emphasizes in Bhagavad Gita, Manmana Bhava Mad Bhakto, not once but twice. I mean, when he emphasizes twice, I mean, it shows the importance of that. Like he says to Arjuna, Tat Shrunu, please hear. Again and again he keeps on giving importance. That means that is important. So, coming back to that Mahaprakash Leela, then of course, Mahaprabhu then gives a benediction to Mukunda Datta that yes, you are singing very well, and I give you this benediction that whenever you sing in the future, you will sing without any offense, and whosoever hears your singing, even if it is one verse or one word, their heart will turn into a pure state. They will become pure devotees. And that is the kind of benediction he gets. So this is the importance of recognizing who is Krishna. And thirdly, how to recognize Krishna. That is, we got to take further steps forward. And we all know that Bhagavatam, from the first canto to the fifth canto, is Krishna's lotus feet, thighs and waist, and it shows the Sambandha relation with Krishna. That is Krishna as Madana Mohan. And from 6th canto to 9th canto is Krishna's chest, hands, shoulders and neck, which is the Abhideya part of it. This is Krishna as Govindaji. And from 10th canto to 12th canto is the Krishna's face, hair and top ornaments, which are the Prayojana. In fact, the Rasa Leela is said to be the smiling face of the Lord. And this is Prayojana. And Krishna as Gopinath. So, the more we read Bhagavatam, actually, in that respect, again, you all are fortunate that yes, every day, day in and day out, you get to hear Bhagavatam. You are absorbed there. And okay, thanks to technology, even when I am in the house, we tune into Mayapur. We hear Bhagavatam from there. Sitting in Bangalore or with Juhu or wherever. At least thanks to technology, we are able to get access of this. Otherwise, unless you go to a temple, you don't get to hear Bhagavatam. So, and we know that Bhagavatam has arisen, Krishna Swadhama Pagate, Dharma Jnanadibhi Saha, Kalau Nastya Drasham Esha, Puranarko Dhanodihi. So, immediately after Krishna had departed to his world, Bhagavatam has arisen, and only for the people of Kali Yuga, so that yes, we can get reformed. We can understand who is Krishna, because Bhagavatam embodies Krishna. Now, another way where, in fact, Vamsivardhan Prabhu, when he gave the class, I think so just a week back, he was emphasizing on one very important point. It struck me that, that day's class was where both the Kalyavana and Jarasandha were going to attack. I mean, the attack was from a two-sided the thing. And he dwelt at length about us getting trapped within the three modes of material nature. And that is when we get into difficulties. In fact, in one of the classes of Sarvabhauma Prabhu, he had come to Sharjah about 14-15 years back, and he was mentioning in the Damodar Leela, it was a very humorous class, how we can get into difficulties. Of course, he speaks in very chaste Hindi, very nice to hear. Nazar hati, durghatana ghati. He said it in a very nice way, and it sort of stays with you. The moment Yashoda put down Krishna and ran towards that, Nazar hati, durghatana ghati. And then onwards, all sets up. And that's a thing which we can keep in mind. And as far as the three modes of material nature is concerned, since we have just about 5 minutes, I'll give one more incident as to how much we are entrapped in this three modes of material nature and thereby not able to get out. This was a talk given by Rukmini Krishna Prabhu in Punjabi Bhag. He gives a japa talk every day, and for the past 2 or 3 months what I've been doing is I've been listening to his japa talk, because that is just about 3 or 4 minutes. Before I start my japa, I listen to that. And one of that was about these three modes of material nature. He was explaining, he was telling a story, a very nice story, I think so. Some of you may be knowing it, but I'll recount that nevertheless, because it contains a very emphatic message. We are all familiar with a circus. And in circus you have various kinds of animals. And one day there was a fire in the circus. And all the animals, they ran away. They were all tied, but they ran away. But there was one elephant. He was not very old, he was not very young, middle-aged. Hatta katta, that is the word he used. And of course he says it in Hindi. And for us South Indians it's a little difficult. But yes, we try our best to follow. He's used that word, hatta katta hatitha. So, and with one shake that elephant could, because the elephant was tied with a normal rope. It was not a heavy rope. And had he shaken his head, that rope would have broken, he could have fled. But the elephant did not move. Elephant stayed there and was consumed by the fire, died. Everybody was surprised. Elephant is such a strong animal, why is not moved? Then they went into the past history. It was found that the hunter who trapped that elephant, when it was in a very childhood stage, he tied it with heavy chain and big thick ropes, etc. And at that time the elephant tried its best to get free. But all it could do was it hurt itself. Blood was flowing from the leg, from the neck, etc. So that thought was embedded in the mind of the elephant that I can never be freed. So Rukmini Krishna Prabhu explained that with the three modes of material nature, all of us who have taken millions of births here, we are also like that. We are thinking that yes, this is the be all and end all of everything. And that is why we are here. And on top of that, Maya Devi tells you, हाँ भैया तुम्हारा इधर ही है सब कुछ. Everything is very sukh shanti, सब इधर ही मिलेगा. So she adds more ghee to that. So we think that yes, this place is it. Whereas what Rukmini Krishna Prabhu explained that day, and that was a japa talk. He said, look, no, this is not it. This is just a trap. Guru Gauranga, both of them, they possess the scissors to cut the knots. You do proper japa, you do pure japa, they are pleased, they will cut the knots of the three modes of material nature. The moment that is cut, you are free. So everything hinges on your japa. You can get out. So I was very inspired, how he spoke about the three modes of material nature, Hamsivadan Prabhu, that day. And then I recollected that yes, this is how we get out of this material world. And once we get out of this material world, then yes, we know what is the real thing. So, Srimad Bhagavatam Grantaraj ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Entai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Om. Hare
Prabhuji, thank you for this wonderful lecture. I had one question. In the starting, you emphasized that knowledge is needed to understand Krishna, to recognize him. And after that, you said in between that bhakti is more important. All other things are actually not so important. And later on in the pastime of Mahaprabhu, you recollected so many pastimes that Mahaprabhu again and again said to his devotees that recognize I was there to help you at that time. So what should I understand? That should I practice devotional service to try to recognize Krishna, or to just try to increase my devotion towards him, and by devotion only in the end I will recognize him?
Yeah, by devotion that sets into motion the ability to recognize him. Like in Shikshastakam, first verse, there is a word called Vidya Vadu Jivanam. That means a chaste wife will always follow her husband. I mean, it comes automatically. You don't have to make any separate endeavor. So, you do your devotional service, you do your bhakti, these sort of things will fall into place. That is most important, that you are able to recognize Krishna. And that recognition is like every day you attend the Bhagavatam class, you listen to it attentively. And you know what Prabhupada says, study the Bhagavatam class from someone who is coming in the parampara, study it scrutinizingly. Those are sort of added things which will help you in that journey where you will be able to come to recognizing Krishna. So once I've given just two instances here, but Bhaktya Mam Abhijanati, on that one line, Vamsivadhan Prabhu could possibly give us a lecture for 3 to 4 hours, right? So these are sort of steps which will take you in the direction to be able to recognize Krishna. And that recognition is very important. Even when we come to take darshan of the Lord or darshan of Prabhupada, we should recognize who they are, especially say Prabhupada, what all he has done for us. I mean, but for Prabhupada, at least I wouldn't be anywhere near here. I mean, the kind of benefit which I got in the Gulf, where we don't have a temple. But it is only because of the preaching efforts of the devotees, which is what helped me to steer in this path. Otherwise, when I was a young boy, I was studying in a convent school and I knew more about Bible than about Ramayana and Mahabharata. Whereas it is the devotees there in the Gulf who steered me in the right direction. And then I later on recollected that what all I have been missing because I was studying in the convent school. So, I mean, once you get the association of the devotees, once you attend these set of classes, all this sort of aids your path. Vamsivadhan Prabhu, would you like to add something more, Prabhu?
Thank you, Puji. A very silly question, Puji. A devotee who is uneducated with low IQ, he won't be able to read and understand what is in the lecture.
Correct.
So how he can progress?
Look at that Brahmana who was reading Bhagavad Gita in Srirangam. Firstly, he was holding Bhagavad Gita upside down. He did not even know which side is the way it should be read. But looking at the picture of Bhagavad Gita on the cover, he could recognize that here is a personality who goes all out to serve his devotees. I mean, that is not some act which an ordinary person will be able to emulate. I mean, that is what moved his heart. This personality, Krishna, he does anything and everything for his devotees, which is what was spotted by Mahaprabhu. So, you don't have to be illiterate. You need to recognize who is Krishna, have the devotion, the Lord does the rest. We could be as poor as Kolavecha Sridhar. I mean, I'm sure quite a lot of you must have gone on the Mayapur Parikrama to see his house, which still exists there. Of course, it has been refurbished now. It used to have holes and rain used to come inside, but yet he is singing Harinam all throughout the night. So, he was not a very literate person. So it all is coming out of the devotion which you are able to show for the Lord. Especially that 11th offense which we all read, not to be attentive while chanting. Very important. We have to be attentive. And Rukmini Krishna Prabhu, and so does Radhesham Prabhu, he also gives japa talk. So these are very, very important pointers, I would say, just to steer us on the right path. Does it answer your question?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Guruji, for your class. When in the life of a devotee, when a devotee is going through his devotional service and the things are happening according to his expectations, so he says that it's all Krishna's mercy by which I am getting this result. So that time it's very easy to say that means it's by Krishna's mercy. We can even see the Krishna's hand. But when he goes through some tough time in our life, although we have read philosophy that whatever happens in the life of a devotee is good for him, but at that time to say from heart that it's Krishna's mercy, it becomes very difficult to see Krishna's hand at that time. So at that time, how should we handle those situations, particularly for oneself, and when we see someone else is also facing that problem? Yes.
Yeah, see, this is a problem which you would face as you are practicing devotional service, because Maya Devi is now alert कि ये बंदा भाग रहा हमसे. So she will put in all kinds of trials and tribulations that act as a sort of a filter that yes, whether you are able to cross the hump or whether you are hit by the hump. That is what is being watched. And trials and tribulations and problems will come to the extent that yes, we can bear. We will not be asked to lift the Govardhan mountain. Definitely not. But yes, problems will be there. Nobody will have a smooth bed of roses kind of journey towards this thing. And the final test will be on the day of reckoning, when we are about to leave the body. So, like I was hearing somebody questioned Radhanath Maharaj, it seems, that supposing if I take a revolver and put it to my head and I chant Hare Krishna and then pull the trigger, will I go back home, back to Godhead? At that time, Maharaj said something very profound. Yes, you have said Hare Krishna and you have pulled the trigger. At that time, Krishna will remove himself from that mantra, because your intentions are not pure. You got to come with a clean heart. Even Bhagavatam it says that when you read Bhagavatam, Nirmatsaranam, that heart has to be pure. And how will that purity be attained? Over the course of time. Yani, ant mein jaake it is not some magic that yes, it will come. You have to persevere. And that perseverance is what is being seen by the Lord. That yes, how have you persevered? And that's why he says, Manmana bhava mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. And yat karosi, yat yasnasi. All these kind of pointers which he gives is just to see that yes, we do not stray away from the path laid down. And there will be plenty of opportunities where we could go astray. Like, for instance, even myself, I was associating with the devotees for over 6 years in Dubai. And they were pressurizing me, initiation lena padega. I said, no. I mean, I am telling you positively, I will not be able to hold the chanting back for life. Wo humse nahi hoga. I know myself better. He said, no, that is not the way it works. You have to. I said, Prabhuji, if I take initiation, I cannot hold the chanting back for life. And you are asking me to do japa every day, 16 rounds? No chance. As long as I am here, I will do that. And in Dubai, the one thing is, the moment your office contract is over, you are given 30 days to wind up. And then you have to leave that country. So I knew that, and I've seen many devotees, wonderful devotees. They will be there associating, doing everything, following Ekadashi, everything they'll do. The moment they come back to India, they are not in association with devotees, everything goes out of the window. Not within 1 month. They lose everything, they stop chanting, no offering, nothing. And I was afraid of that. I don't want to commit an aparat to Guru Maharaj. Then they explained, no, it doesn't happen. What is your fear? I said, my fear is devotee association. I don't know whether when I go to India, because one day I'll have to leave Dubai. Dubai is one place where you may earn billions of dollars. They won't give you the passport unless you marry a Muslim, that local family. And nobody wants to do that. So my fear is if I go back to India, I won't get devotee association. Ye humse nahi hoga. Then they said, no, Guru Maharaj will read that desire in you. He will give you association. I said, how? Whenever Guru Maharaj comes, you all surround him, 5 or 6 circles, you all are there. I am standing there. I never even get to talk to him. How do you think that will happen? Then they explained. I have 2 Shiksha Gurus. They came to my house one day in the evening just to ensure that yes, I say yes to initiation. I said, I don't even get to talk to Guru Maharaj. Only once I have been introduced. That's all. He said, no, that desire in your heart, Guru Maharaj will read. You know that X-ray machine in the airport? They explained that. X-ray machine, you put some box and that guy is sitting on the computer, he will read what is inside that without even opening the box. Guru Maharaj has something like that. He will read your heart. Eventually, of course, after that also you continue to do seva. I take initiation. When I was about to leave Dubai and come back to India, I was going to Coimbatore. I had one plot of land. I thought I'll build a house and I'll do Bhakti Viksha there and bas, ho jayega. Devotees called me from Calcutta. They said, Baba, you please come here. We will give you seva in the temple. They did not allow me to go to Coimbatore. They said, you are more of a Bengali than a Tamilian. You come here, we will give you seva. From the airport, when I landed in Calcutta, I went into Calcutta temple. I did not talk to Guru Maharaj. He is the one who arranged that. So that heart-to-heart data transfer, it takes place. And Shiksha Gurus explained, look, you are missing out on something big. And touch wood, till from that day, since the day I came back, yes, I have been able to get devotee association. All Guru Maharaj arranges. And how does it happen? Because, yes, we associate with the devotees there back in Dubai. And the preaching which happens in Dubai is phenomenal. I have not seen that kind of preaching back here in India. Dubai is wonderful, I would say, for preaching. And the kind of association which we had with sannyasis, apart from places like Mayapur or Vrindavan, we got wonderful association in Dubai, although we don't have a temple there. So that is it. Okay, Prabhu? Shall we close? Srimad Bhagavatam Grantaraj ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Thank you very much, devotees. Jai. Guru Maharaj ki Jai.